Hello, my pretty awkward fam, heart to heart time. Oh, I feel like when I start these episodes, it's like a warm hug. I just feel like I'm having a hug from you because this is like partly my therapy. I also have coaching every week, relationship coaching, which becomes therapy pretty much. But I just love it. So thank you for making me love recording these episodes. I want to talk about something today that I'm going through this program called To Be Magnetic by Lacy Phillips. And I've gone through it before. I might have mentioned this recently, but I've gone through it before. And honestly, the last time I went through it, it's a manifestation membership essentially. And she really focuses on subconscious reprogramming to manifest. And I love her take. I love her process and all of that. And I really believe in it. And it's helpful for very logical people. And I went through it a few years ago, but honestly, I went through it. I didn't go through it all. And I went through it to peek and see what she did with her membership because I wanted to start a membership. And I was like, let me look at a really successful one. Let me see what they're doing, peek behind the scenes, right? And so I got it and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna really use this. It was like 20 bucks a month. I think it's 30 now. It was 20 bucks a month and I couldn't believe it was 20 bucks a month with how much they give you. It's wild and the results, it's incredible. But they have huge numbers. It's just crazy. It's so incredible, the community they've built over many, 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 many years. But I went through and I was like, okay, I just want to see the structure. I want to see how they do things, not obviously to ever directly copy, but you see success, you want to analyze why, right? And what I found is I got kind of hooked. I was like, oh, this stuff's really helping me. And for some reason, just like anything, I kind of lost track of it. I kind of stopped. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm not really using that thing anymore. And then it expired. And I was at a retreat for the mastermind I'm a part of a few weeks ago, or I guess a month ago now. And we had someone there who talked about To Be Magnetic and how much it changed their life and how much like them going through that work and working on themselves is why they were able to implement so fully in the strategy part of their business. And I mean, I know this. I've experienced this when I work on myself, when I put my own personal growth first and foremost. That's when my business grows. Obviously, it doesn't just pop out, but I start to take bigger risks. I start to believe in myself. I start to try new things. I start to implement the strategy in such a more confident, intentional way because of that belief in myself, right? If I don't believe in myself and I'm not personally growing myself and my resolve and all of that, no strategy is going to help me because I'm going to implement it with lacklusterness. I don't know if that's a word, but we just said it. Or I'm going to half-ass it, or I'm not going to implement it, right? Or I'm just going to make excuses. And I know that. I've been there. So I have no doubt, like when you really prioritize working on yourself, your mindset, your health, all of that, your business will grow. And it's so hard for people in the beginning to like grasp that because they're just like, strategy. I just need the strategy. Give me more. I'm going to buy this person's course and then this person's course and then this person's course because they have the secret. They don't. And so much of the time we actually need to take a step back, work on ourselves in conjunction with doing some of the strategy, right? And so it's this beautiful blend of doing and being. And so when she was talking about that and brought that up, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been considering getting back to Be Magnetic. This is a sign, let's do it. And so I bought it that weekend. I think it's 30 bucks a month. Or you can pay in full for the year. And it's just wild what you get in there. And so I'm starting to go through it. And one of the things they have you go through is this workshop called How to Manifest. And it's kind of like the basics of neuro linguistic reprogramming, subconscious reprogramming, all of that. And you're learning how your subconscious creates your reality, not your thoughts, right? If you think bad thoughts right now, if I thought, oh my gosh, something bad, it's not going to create it. And I used to think that. And I used to be, because I think I heard other people in manifestation talk about that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to be positive all the time. And it was exhausting because life happens. And sometimes you think bad thoughts and you don't want to be like, oh my gosh, is that going to manifest, right? That's not how it happens. And so one thing I really learned through this program is that it's your beliefs. It's your subconscious beliefs. And when I read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, it kind of reinforced this. A big thing he talked about is like the upper limit problem. How people who have subconscious beliefs that they don't deserve money or they don't deserve wealth or happiness or a great relationship, once they get it, they can't handle it and they get rid of it. So they'll make a ton of money and then spend it all or get rid of it. Or they'll have a great relationship and then sabotage it, right? Whatever it is, there's so many different things. And so that is kind of a similar kind of thought process. You will only manifest to what you believe you deserve. and what you believe is true for you. And, you know, I've been really blessed in my life. I've had a very incredible life and a very amazing childhood. My parents got divorced when I was really young, but it was like the most amicable divorce you could ever imagine. They stayed friends. I literally stayed at my dad's one week, my mom's one week. It was equal. It was equal. And they lived down the block. My dad moved a block away for that reason. I could walk from my dad's to my mom's. And so even though I was a child of divorce, like my parents got along great. They did. They still do. They're still friends. And I felt really just so lucky to have so much love and then have great siblings who are way older than me, but treated me just like their sibling, and even more so, kind of almost like their kid. And then I have incredible nieces and nephews that I'm even closer in age to, because my sisters are so much older than me, my brother's so much older than me. So I'm really, really close to my nieces and nephews. A lot of them are more like sisters and brothers to me. And I have just had this beautiful upbringing. I really, really have. I was encouraged to do things that stretched me. I was in theater. I did really well in school and all of this. But even with all that, even with what seems to be like a picture perfect childhood, even with divorce, like it was still pretty great. I have shit. We all do, right? Obviously, when you go through traumatic events, or if you didn't have a great childhood and all that, yes, that's going to be an obvious one. But I mistakenly was like, I don't have any subconscious beliefs to reprogram. Everything's great, you know? And there's a couple things that I'm manifesting right now. One is things with business and with launches and with this year, what we want to accomplish financially, and the other is a baby. And the baby one, I don't feel like I have as much reprogramming to do, because I literally grew up with babies around me and all I saw was that. And I got pregnant really quick the first time. So I don't feel like I actually have too much to reprogram there. It wasn't a ton that came up, but this one thing did come up, and I wanted to share about it because I know there's women out there who've experienced this, either actively or now experiencing it, or want to also have kids, or already have kids and are starting their business after. There's all different types of people listening to this. And one thing, and I wrote it down, so I want to go make sure I read it correctly. One thing that kept coming up for me when I was doing this work and journaling, and then doing these things that she calls deep imaginings, which is like gets you into that state of reprogramming subconsciously. So you're literally rewiring your brain to create a new belief, is, can I be a successful entrepreneur, CEO, and a mom? And now when I say that, my gut response is, of course, like obviously. And I do believe that consciously. I'm like, duh, of course. And I have expanders. I have women who are doing both, who have very thriving, successful businesses and have multiple children, right? I have these examples. Yet, even though consciously I say that, and I'm like, of course I can. And I've actually helped many women do this. Over half my clients, I think like 70% of my clients are moms or have been moms. I've helped them do this. I'm actually really great at that, because I'm good at helping people prioritize what matters most and build a business around that. It's like one of my best skill sets. So I've also helped a lot of women do this, yet I subconsciously was still having this block, which is kind of funny, because my mom, growing up, my mom had me later in life. She had me at 39. She had my siblings really young, had me at 39. And we have different dads. And she always worked my whole life. She was the breadwinner. And so she was a really great role model of like strong, like powerful woman making money, like doing the thing. And I always grew up with a mom who worked and who really provided for us. And she was also a really great mom. Like she was so there for me. We did shows together. She's a piano player. Like she's my best friend. Like we are so close today, and we've always been so close. And so it's just funny that's coming up for me, because she was both, but I also saw it take a toll on her. I did. She also didn't love her job like I love mine. And I saw it take a toll on her. I definitely did. And so I think when this was coming up for me, when I look at a lot of the people as examples, they don't love their life. I am not saying she didn't love her life, but she was stressed a lot. She was stressed a lot, like a lot. And she didn't have the best relationship with money. I grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees and all of that kind of stuff a lot. And, you know, that's probably what she heard and is passed down and all of that, of course. But it was definitely a scarcity mentality, because that was a lot of her life was that she didn't have money. And so even when she got it and she started to make it, it was like, oh my gosh, I have to hold on to this. And I definitely had that happen because that's what I was taught, right? Life is expensive. Money doesn't grow on trees, all of that. And so even though I have this role model who technically had both, she was divorced and she was stressed a lot. And I don't want to get divorced. My marriage is my priority, my number one. And I don't want to be stressed a lot. I want to enjoy it. I want to be healthy. I want to, all of these things. And so it's almost that whole, can you have it all? Like, is that possible? Honestly. And that's been a big subconscious belief that's coming up for me because I have the business, I have the money, I have the great marriage, I have the beautiful relationship with family, I have the health. And the thing that I want more than anything right now is the family. And when that gets added to the mix, I know the other things have to be put to the back burner. I know that. And it's not that they totally have to stop, but you have to, I'm only one person, right? You've got to prioritize. I don't believe in this perfect balance, right? There's going to be seasons. I've talked about this a lot. There's going to be seasons you go through in your business, in your life, in your marriage, all of that, where you need help more than your partner, or your partner needs help more than you, or your family needs you more than your business, or your business needs you more than your family at this point, right? And as long as you communicate that, I've been there just even with my own life and the stuff I have now. But I know having a baby and adding a family, that's a whole other part. I mean, I experienced that a little bit when I had my puppy, Luna. When Luna was a puppy, I had that. And I was like, this is a dog. Which honestly, it's basically like having a 3-year-old right away running around, and it was a full-time job in the beginning. I was like, how do people do this and go to work? This is crazy. But it was a dog, right? It wasn't a human, and I had to adjust things. And I'm like, man, what am I gonna do? Like, I know I can set myself up financially. I know I can set myself up with launches and all of that. Like, I know how to do that. It's not that. It's more so the everyday and the exhaustion and all of that kind of stuff. And I just like, that's a big thing that I realized, like, I don't have the subconsciousness. Like, I believe subconsciously I can make great money because I've done it. And I also believe I can have a baby because I was pregnant and I've just grown up with so many babies in my life. So I don't think it's that. It was the combination that I realized. And I was like, whoa, that's what I have to reprogram. And I have to reprogram it to mean something else. Like, just because my mom, didn't have those two things I want, she didn't have the marriage and she didn't have the less stress. I know there's never a no stress life, but less stress doesn't mean I can't. I know there's examples of that out there. And I also know that I am going to have this season mentality. And so this is something that I just want to share with you because it really popped up a lot for me when I was doing that work this week. And I'm going to do one probably today. I'm going to do the reprogramming. I think it's Unblock Shadow. I'm forgetting which one it's called, but this is the belief that I'm going to sit down and do. And I'm a little nervous about it. And sometimes when I do these things, like, I feel like I'm not super present. I need to get super present in it and lock in. And I'm a little distracted right now just because my dad is still healing and still sick. And I'm basically over there every single day. And so I'm kind of balancing that right now in addition to work and prepping for a launch and serving clients and being there for my family and all of that. So we've got a lot going on right now. I'm not going to lie, but it's like, I want to prioritize this work because I know how powerful it is, especially for what I want to experience right now. I want to experience great income and great money and great launches, and I want to start a family. And I don't believe I have to pick one. I know I can do both. I see people do both. I see people have all of this success, and I know it's possible. And I'm leaning into what she calls in To Be Magnetic expanders, people who are doing it as examples. But it's just like, it's wild how ingrained these beliefs are when you've grown up with them. And you think, oh, like, logically, I know that's not true. Consciously, I know that's not true. Obviously, I can be a successful CEO and a successful mom. Of course I can. But when it comes down to it, it's hard. It's not going to be easy. I don't want an easy life. I like a challenging life. I like, just to a point, but I like being challenged. I like work. I like this kind of stuff. So I'm not asking for it to be so simple, but I was a little bit like, is this possible? And I'm working through it. I don't think I'm 100% there yet, but I'm working through it. And I'll definitely keep you posted on the deep imaginings that I do and the rewiring and let you know how it goes. But Other than that, the past like week or so, some other things that came up is this like, it's funny, I've had so many clients stress about it and I get it. I don't want to put too much energy or thought into it because I just don't think we should, is Instagram people, and I'm including myself in this. I am totally including myself in this, is getting so bogged down by the numbers and by the lack of engagement and by the story views down and all this kind of stuff. I get it, my friends. Like my numbers for my freebies and my workshops are usually triple what they are right now. Like usually triple. And that sucks when you put in so much time and energy into something. You're like, this is so freaking good. And if everyone could see this, like, oh gosh, like it's not even about the numbers for the result. It's that you know how great it is and you know your people could have so much success if they got it, right? If they got this freebie or they got this workshop or this challenge or your program, right? And you get frustrated because you're like, man, I know people need this and they can't find me. It's very frustrating, and I get it. I totally get it. And so something that's just helping me is, one, trying my best. I'm not perfect at this, but trying my best not to keep looking at them. Like, yes, for stats and for growth, like we started this a few weeks ago, but every week we do like my team sends me a numbers chart, like how many new opt-ins, how many downloads, of the podcast, of the Instagram, of just metrics basically of all socials. And I think it's smart to do that, because if you don't measure something, you don't, or pay attention to it, how can it grow? But I also don't want to get too bogged down by that, because it can be very disheartening when there's so much you can't control. Like you're like, I know I'm doing everything right. I know with full confidence I am. I know I can't do anything more right now. So what are my other options, right? And to me, it's like, I don't want to put so much weight in it. So I try not to look too much at the numbers. That's one. But I also focus on what I can control. And what are the other things, the other ways I could talk to people and connect with people. And so something I'm personally doing is I'm starting more private conversations. Like I'm back to DMing every new follower that comes in. I don't know why I stopped that. I actually love that. I'm messaging I'm trying to almost every person who opts into my freebie or opts into my workshop, or who is replying to stories, voting on polls. Like I'm really getting to know people at a more one-on-one level. And so even though engagement's a little down, my DMs are up. Like I have such great conversations going on right now, and I know my messaging and what I'm doing is helping. I've had so many. I literally just had someone, I probably already shared it on social, say to me, I have not ever seen a freebie this valuable in my life. I was like, yes, that makes me so happy. And that's exactly what I wanted. That's the reaction I wanted. And I know it's just a matter of time where people will see it. And, if I wanted to invest money in ads and all that, I could. We did ads a little bit for my first freebie, and we're going to do it for my challenge. That's going to be announced. Let me see. When is this coming out? No, it'll be announced in a week. I was like, wait, no. You'll hear about that in about a week if you're on my email list. If you're not on the email list, you'll hear about it on the next podcast. So make sure you're on the email list so you can get first dibs. We'll probably do some ads to that. And that's like a privilege that we have, and we can an action we can take, which I'm very grateful for. But it's like, man, it's just organic used to work so seamlessly, and it was incredible. And now it's just getting harder and harder. And you know what? It almost makes me feel so confident in my process, because one of the biggest things I help people with is how to stand out, is how to uniqueify their content and their process, their framework, their offer, themselves. How to really be themselves in a way that is unique, that does stand out. And now more than ever, man, you need that. And it's just been so confirming for me. I'm like, wow, yep, you're on the right path, Meg. People desperately need what you're helping with. And I know that. And so it was kind of, even though it was like, oh, this sucks that everyone's going through this, and myself included, I'm definitely not immune to it. It's also like strengthened my resolve in what I'm really great at and what I help people with, because it's never going to go out of style, So thank you for this, like listening to this kind of hodgepodge of thoughts, but I really just felt like sharing what was on my heart about that subconscious belief. And I know my mom entrepreneurs out there are like, Meg, you can do it. I know you can. It's not easy, but I know you can do it. And I know you're out there, and I thank you, because man, your messages, when you share that stuff, that means so much. Whether you started your business after you had kids or before, I really, really respect it. I know everyone's journey is going to be different. I know I have a leg up in many ways because I've already have an established business and brand and trust. So I can take some risks. I can take steps back. We have savings. We have all that stuff. So I'm very lucky in that sense when it comes to starting a family. But I also know that I love what I do, and I love work, and I love helping people, and I love serving, and I don't want to take too many steps back. And I want to keep the momentum going and all of that. So it's just kind of funny. I say this now, and when I actually have a kid, I'm sure I'll come back and listen to this and be like, everything's going differently than you ever imagined it could. You can't prepare for this. And I know that. My control issues will be tested. They have already been tested. I've gotten so much better at that, especially in the last few weeks with everything going on with my dad. It's just, I've had to be very flexible. I've had to run over there at certain times that I didn't feel like it. I felt like lounging around with my husband, but I needed to be there. And so I'm really learning patience and letting go of control and rolling with the punches and really focusing on what you can control. And I just want to button that with same goes for Instagram, same goes for social media. The more stress and pressure and upset you get about this stuff, the more you're going to go down that rabbit hole. And when you go down that rabbit hole, you're not thinking outside the box. You're not giving your brain a chance to be creative. Instead, get off the app, go for a walk, go for a run, exercise, get outside, go take a shower, be in silence, play with your kids, do something that totally unplugs your brain. That's when the creative downloads will come. It's not when you're just stressing, doing more of what's not working. I promise you. So I hope you have a beautiful weekend or weekday if you're listening to this in the middle of the week. And thank you so much for being a part of this community. I just feel so lucky to have these conversations. Like, I feel like I'm talking to my best friend, and I really need these. I selfishly need these probably more than anyone listening. So thank you. I will see you in the next episode.